They want us to know and squash the truth. And
it disfigured his face. He did this because he needed to win that election. He needed to win that election to fulfill his mission. And his mission was to bring the Bill of Rights to this country. And a part of the Bill of Rights that he introduced was our great First Amendment to the Constitution. And he, at that time, in the first Congress, told us what that meant, what that First Amendment meant. And he would later go on in the Virginia resolutions to explain that the meaning again, when the laws had changed such that the First Amendment was violated. He said that amendment stood for this proposition, that this government shall have no power over speech and press in this country. And it is a short-lived thing, liberty, because liberty requires eternal vigilance. And when we drop our guard, particularly when we don't even know the fight is taking place, we may lose our liberties. And so it was that a short time later, 150 years later, the workings are in place to deprive us of our First Amendment liberties in an area most dear to us. In an area that deals with public health. It deals with your individual health, your sovereignty in determining what goes into your body, your right to receive information necessary to make informed choices. And I'm going to give you a specific example because I was very directly involved. I had the privilege of representing parties who asked me to sue the government because the government, during the administration, the FDA administration of David Kessler, was censoring from the public information about folic acid, a little B vitamin with a powerful punch. That B vitamin, folic acid, in 400 micrograms when consumed by women of childbearing age before they become pregnant, can reduce the incidence of a neural tube defect birth, spina bifida, and anencephaly, by as much as 40% to 80%. That's 400 micrograms to 800 micrograms. But you have to take it in a pill, and you have to take it before you become pregnant. And the physiological effect of it is diminished substantially when taken after you become pregnant. Women were going into their doctor's offices saying, "I'm pleased to announce I think I'm pregnant." You confirm that. Being told that they were was a delightful moment. But they weren't taking folic acid until after they met with their doctor. And as a consequence, the risk reduction was not taking place. An estimated 2,500 preventable neural tube defect births occurred each year because women were simply unaware of the need to take folic acid before they became pregnant. The commissioner of the FDA, David Kessler, refused to allow that information into the marketplace. He stood as a barrier to that information. He was a pediatrician. He said, "I love kids, but I'm doing this because I'm protecting a process here at the FDA that ensures that only drugs can communicate therapeutic information." And so he prevented us from distributing that information in the marketplace. As a consequence, year after year after year after year, while the censorship took place, women were giving birth to children with neural tube defect births. We took up that cause. We went into court. We sued the Food and Drug Administration. We eventually won in the landmark case Pearson versus Shalala. And the court stood appalled at an agency of the government that had countenanced these neural tube defect births year after year and countless abortions of neural tube defect birth children that never had to be. And this is the kernel of evil that grows within this federal government. Censorship of health information. Freedom, liberty is the centerpiece of our Constitution. Freedom of informed choice is indispensable to our ability to control our biological destinies. If we don't have the information, we can't make the choices. If the government doesn't like the choices we make, that is too bad. We are free. This is for our own good. But you know, as early as the farewell address of George Washington, he gave us a message, a warning for future generations. He said, "Let there be no change by usurpation. For though in one instance it may be an instrument of good, it is the customary weapon by which free governments are destroyed. We have got to get back to our constitutional roots. We must restore." constitution of liberty to this country. We were given a constitution in which we were sovereign, in which governors were to be our servants. They have become our masters, and we have become increasingly enslaved. We have an opportunity to change this. We have an opportunity to fulfill the great promise that James Madison gave us when in 1791 he introduced the Bill of Rights. We can make that document come alive again. We have to use our power at the voting booth. But during my lifetime, I will not rest so long as this government deprives us of the right to receive information that we must have to make helpful choices. We have a right to that information. It is indispensable to our health. And so help me God, I will do my part, and I ask you to do yours. Let's change this government back to a constitution of liberty. Thank you.
That's a real one. As a matter of fact, the priest was getting his hair cut. And when he walked in, the barber cut his hair. He said, "How much do I owe you?" The barber said, "You're a man with the church, a man with the cloth. You don't owe me anything." And the priest says, "No, please." And he said, "No, Father, nothing." So the next day, as the barber was opening up his shop, he sees a bag down on the door. He reaches down, opens it up, and it's a golden Bible from the priest. He said, "God, that was nice." And he goes in to cut the hair of his next customer, a police officer. Same thing happened. The police officer said, "How much do I owe you?" And he said, "You're a man of the law." "Nothing, sir, nothing." He said, "No, come on." He said, "Sir, nothing." The next day, as the barber is opening up his office, his shop, there's a little bag down. Opens it up. It's a bunch of donuts. He opens it up, and his first customer of the day was a lawyer. "What's the lawyer's here? How much do I owe you?" "You're a man of the court. You owe me nothing." He said, "No, I insist." He said, "No, sir, nothing." And off the lawyer went. The last day, the barber's opening up his door, and he's going to there. What do you think he finds? A line of lawyers. That is not over. As we do so often on Coast to Coast, we watch the clock all the time. We're looking for commercial breaks, we're looking for this, we're getting things in and out. We've got about 45 minutes to go. One of the successes of our program is we are interactive. We give the audience an opportunity to talk with so many professionals who come on the program. John has taken phone calls, Christian has taken calls, Kevin, you take phone calls on your show. Everybody answers phone calls. We're going to do that with you right now. So what I'd like you to do is, by a show of hands, when you have a question, I'll point to you, stand up because you do not have a microphone, speak as loudly as you can. You can direct it to somebody, or I will do that for you, and we will go from there. And I assume this microphone is hot, Leonard? You do have one now. Okay, Tommy. We'll get a microphone, we'll have it run around, and we'll point at those of you who might not. That's okay. Let's take you, sir, all the way in the back.
Yeah, chemtrails, major threat to the survival of humanity. Heavy metals and chemtrails all over the planet. Anybody and everybody. What can we do to stop this? Where is it coming from? Appreciate your feedback on chemtrails. Thank you.
Absolutely. I don't know how many of you are familiar with chemtrails, but let me tell you something. I have gotten so many phone calls about this subject, this topic. And years ago, I thought, come on, these people were nuts. It's jet fuel. You know, that's what it was. But no. You go out on a clear day, and by the afternoon, it looks like a tic-tac-toe board all over the place. And something is being sprayed on us. Is it weather manipulation? Are they dumbing us down? Something's being done. Do any of you want to answer? Kevin?
You know, I get this question a lot on my radio show as well. And I have some direct inside information on this, because the big question that people always say is, why are they doing this to us? Well, keep in mind, if chemtrails are being sprayed, it's being sprayed on everyone. You understand this? So those who are spraying the chemtrails are also being affected by the elements in the chemtrails. So it's affecting the planet as a whole. Every single person. Nobody's immune. But keep this in mind. As Dr. Coldwell is so brilliant in talking about how worry is where you should be concerned with. Remember, you have nothing to fear but fear itself. Dr. Warner, my longtime friend, also understands that the thoughts affect everything else, whether it makes you less ambitious, whether it affects your immune system, whether it allows you to turn your pH acidic so you can develop an environment for cancer and other illnesses and diseases, whether you just lose hope. It's all about fear. So keep that in mind. People are always worried about population control. And for those who always talk about this, my response is, when is it going to start? We've been talking about it for years. Every year it continues to get more and more and more and more and more. We're getting a bigger population. So the point is, yes, there is things being sprayed in the air. Number two, you don't have to worry about it. Because if you worry about it,
that's not true at all.
If you worry about it, that's going to cause more problem than if you...
That's obfuscation.
Well, no.
That's obfuscation on your part, sir.
Okay.
These are heavy metals are being sprayed on us.
I understand.
Give us obfuscation.
I understand that, and you're correct. I'm not disagreeing with you. But my point is, everyone is being affected. So
yeah, but they have air filtration. They know the schedule of the spraying. That is not an answer, sir. I respect you, but that is not an answer. Does anyone else have a real answer?
Okay, well, I can disagree with you a little bit, but I agree with you on some parts of what you're saying as well. So all I would suggest people to do is take the necessary precautions that you feel good about for you, number one, and there are many options here, heavy metal detoxification and so forth. But I think those who live their life in fear constantly about the what ifs are going to be the ones who have the most negative effects. Just something to consider. We can certainly disagree, but it's just something to consider.
I'm a real how-to guy, and you also, your question was what can we do about it? And Kevin said one is don't live in fear, because fear always raises your cortisol level, inhibits the production of healthy hormones, causes sugar cravings, causes cancer, all those things. Correct. And one of the things that helps eliminate fear is if I'm in danger, what can I do about it? So it's a great question. If I'm taking action about something, what can I do about it? Every day I take to keep my body free of the mercury toxicity, of the heavy metals that are flying down in the sky. Right now, every single one of us, 60% of the heavy metals in our body come from the smoke that comes from China, from their coal plants. This has now been measured. We're all being in mercury toxicity, massive toxicity happening in our systems. What you can do every day that's cheap and inexpensive, and people have been doing it before there was all this pollution, and it still worked it worked even better then, but we have to do it. 2 simple remedies. One is lemon. When you take a lemonade first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, this is all proven. Lemon will convert right in. First of all, lemon and acid makes your body more alkaline. So already you're neutralizing a lot of the negative effects of the acid produced by fear and stress and toxins and so forth. But the more importantly is lemon converts right in, goes right to your liver. And your liver is the water filter for your body. It collects all your toxins. You want to get those metals out. The liver's going to catch them. Lemon will go to your liver and stimulate the production of bile. Bile is this green stuff that will clean out your liver. As we get older, we make less and less bile. All you have to do is what every indigenous culture does, is they'll have a little lemonade in the morning, maybe some of your grandparents did it. Lemon will stimulate bile. Bile will eliminate the toxins out of your system. The second thing is there's a substance that when children have autism due to mercury toxicity, they give them shots of glutathione. Well, what is the glutathione helps to remove the heavy metals from the body? What is the natural source of glutathione? Aloe vera. So you grow aloe vera plants in your yard, you just take a little scoop of that, you take a half a lemon, put it in a glass of water, stir it up, and every day you're helping your body to eliminate these heavy metals. So it's very simple.
You know, I had a pilot that called the program once, and he said, they fill up this plane, and I fly it, and I spray it. I don't know what I'm spraying. They don't tell me what I'm spraying. And you're absolutely right. They are finding trace minerals and elements and metals all over this. Sometimes you have probably gone outside and you look at what looks like a whole area of a spider web. It's not a spider web. It's come down from above like fibers. It's absolutely bizarre. But governments will not admit what they're doing. But I do find one thing very interesting. Now scientists are beginning to admit that they are manipulating the weather. They've done it in the Middle East. China did it during the Olympics. They have the technology to do that. But I think this, personally, is something else. I think they're trying, you know, they have tested people in the past. They have sprayed biologicals on our Navy ships with people on them. They have tested people in the 50s in St. Louis. They are capable of doing anything.
They are.
Anything.
That's right. Yeah.
And we're going to set up, what we're going to do too is set up a line for those of you who don't want to run around. I'll still go to you, but let's go to the line.
Hello, my name is Sharon. I'm directing my question to Mr. Trudeau. Mr. Trudeau, what was the impetus that motivated you or compelled you to assist with informing the public of things that our government and other powers that be don't want us to know about? And what would you advise and suggest for us as individualized citizens to take to carry the matter forward and to assist in this effort?
Well, in 1981, I was driving down the highway in Chicago, and I thought I had a massive heart attack. I was about to black out, and I pulled over to the side of the road, and I did pass out for a few moments. Back then, they didn't have cell phones, so I drove to a gas station, called my secretary, said, I think I just had a heart attack, where can I go? And I was lucky, I met a Dr. Nassar, who was a heart specialist, and he happened to have an office virtually 5 miles from my location. So I drove to see him, he put a heart monitor on me, checked me all out, and told me that I was born with a deformed heart. I had a very severe mitral valve prolapse, and that he recommended something serious to be done about it because it was incredibly severe. So I went to the Mass General Hospital and Mayo Clinic, and I was told that I had this incurable heart disease. It was incredibly severe to the deformity, and there was nothing I could do about it. My life expectancy was probably under 5 years. But at that time, I was very fortunate. I had also met during that year a Harvard medical doctor, Dr. Ewan Tang, who during the Korean War was a MASH surgeon. And he gave up drugs and surgery to study and practice homeopathy that he learned from Dr. Bohl and the machine called the Dermatron machine. So I went to see him. He told me I had this heart disease as well using the Dermatron machine. He diagnosed it in 3 minutes instead of 2 days at the other clinics. And I said, well, I understand it's incurable. He said, in America, it's incurable. I said, what? He says, well, if you go to Mexico City or Switzerland, you can do live cell therapy. This is before stem cells. He said, you can do live cell therapy invented by Dr. Nihas at the Clinique de Paris in Geneva, being done since the 50s. And it's a 5-minute procedure, local anesthesia, you get an injection of these live cells, and it should potentially rebuild the heart. You get nothing else to lose, and give it a shot. It's very inexpensive, and it's all natural. So I went there, got the injection, called him up, said, got it, don't feel any different, what do I do? He says, well, 90 days later, go back to the Mayo Clinic and get your checkup, and see what happens. So I went back, they did the ultrasound, and I had no deformity of the heart. It was completely cured. They told me they must have misdiagnosed me. So I told them to run the videotape of the ultrasound from the first one, put it up side by side on a split screen, and I said, look, I'm not a doctor. I have no medical training. I have eyes. It's prolapsed over here, and it's not over here. It's cured, and the treatment that I got worked. Why is it illegal? And I was told because it couldn't be patented. And if you can't patent it, that means no drug company can sell it exclusively. And if you can't patent it, no one's going to spend $300 million getting an FDA approval, because who's going to invest $300 million if they can't get a return on that investment? So therefore, it'll never get an approval in America. It's still not approved to this day. So that's how I thought, how many other things are out there that we don't know about? And how many millions of people in America are suffering and dying needlessly because they don't have access to this information? I traveled to 60 countries, 5 million miles. I interviewed over 5,000 healthcare practitioners. Dr. Coldwell was one of them, that were curing people every day without drugs and surgery. I did this not for you, I did it for me. I wanted to live to be 150 years old and never take a drug. Because I said, you know, animals in the wild don't have heart attacks. 80-year-old gorillas don't need Viagra. I thought, okay, I want to be one of those guys. So I did it for me. And when I exposed that the Department of Education was paying $500 to every school per month for every child who was on Ritalin. When I exposed this, because I'm an insider at the Department of Education, this was a plan to drug down the kids, drug up the kids, dumb them down, and they took phonics out of the schools at the same time. They sued my friend Sean Shanahan, who sold Hooked on Phonics. Remember that? One editor? Because he was doing a heinous crime. He was teaching kids how to read. So they bankrupted him, and they attacked me with my mega memory because I was exposing Ritalin. I said, someone has to make a stand. Someone has to stand up, and has to be willing to take the shots, take the arrows, to be attacked in the media, and that is obviously what has happened, but somebody has to stand up. Somebody has to be willing to go to prison. Right now they're trying to get me in jail because I read my book on TV. Another heinous crime in America. You can write a book, but just don't sell it or read it on television if it's something the government doesn't like. So that's why I did this. And what I recommend people do is, number one, educate yourself. We all have different opinions. We all agree on many things, but we all differ. Talk to 10 different people and ask them the same question, you could get 10 different opinions in relation to health. Who knows what's right and wrong? Educate yourself. Do what you feel is good for you. Educate yourself. Make intelligent buying decisions. And that is going to make a change. If you stop buying high fructose corn syrup, guess what? The manufacturers aren't going to sell high fructose corn syrup. And for those who want vaccination to go, well, I believe in vaccinations. I say, good, a double dose.
Can't let the mic pass without a paragraph here. Kevin mentioned Ritalin. There was a huge response in the audience because between 1 out of 5 and 1 out of 10 children right now are prescribed Ritalin. This is shocking, this is horrible, and what most parents don't know is their only option they're told. Child Protection Agency will take your child if you don't put them on Ritalin. And what is Ritalin? I've seen TV shows, no side effects, it's a myth that it's side effects. Ritalin is methamphetamines. Ritalin changes the child's brain. Ritalin creates more ADD in the long run. So we have to stop it. Now one thing, this is one little paragraph, the second is this. Double-blind studies have been done in Italy and been backed up. Simply 300 milligrams of grapeseed extract. That's $15, 2 months supply. 300 milligrams of grapeseed extract, not grapefruit seeds, grapeseed extract, has proven to be equally effective to Ritalin in double-blind control studies. So any parent you know, you say, look, here's a simple little health food supplement. 300 milligrams a day for your child. You do not need to take Ritalin methamphetamines. There's other things to enhance their mental ability. And second, the third paragraph, and I'm moving on, but what you need to know is, why did your child get Ritalin? Because they have a genius brain. The smarter a child's brain is, the faster it works, the more vulnerable they are to these heavy metals and to the high carbohydrate diet we have. So what you want to do is feed that brain with what it needs. And one of the ingredients is simple. Grape seed extract, 300 milligrams a day. I take it, anybody should take it. It makes your brain work better. It protects us against all the bad stuff out there. It's a super anti-inflammatory for the brain.
I get a kick out of the television and radio commercials for prescriptions because they devote the last 7 seconds to the disclaimer, of which you have no idea what they're saying, other than if you take this pill, your legs will fall off, your eyes will fall off, your ears will fall off. Be careful. All the time. Who else? Anybody in the audience with a hand, or is everybody over here?
Hi, my name is Claire. My question is for Dr. Tenpenny. I have a friend, I'm very anti-vaccine. My animals don't get vaccinated. I don't do any of that, haven't. But I have a friend that kind of looks at me like I'm crazy when I talk about that stuff. But anyway, her daughter has had the Gardasil vaccine. She's only 22, and her health has never been the same since. So she basically has all these autoimmune symptoms and never feels well. So my question is, what can someone do that's already done the deed, that's already taken the vaccine?
Well, the most important thing is, heavy metal toxicity is the one thing. Chemical detox, supporting the liver is really important. Doing lymphatic detox is really important. See, this is one of those perfect scenarios of you can vaccinate, but you really can't ever unvaccinate. And once the damage is done, in my opinion, what I've seen, that even though you can get people better, when you treat their allergies, you treat their immune system, a lot of times it's kind of like Humpty Dumpty, all the king's horses and all the king's men. You will never know what their full potential would have been, because now you've caused total body brain inflammation. There's a Kickstarter project that we just got funded that's called One More Girl, about the problems with the Gardasil vaccine. And honestly, HPV vaccines, infections in the cervix, they're nutritional deficiency diseases. And that you can treat them with things like vitamin C, vitamin A, natural progesterone, DIN, vitamin D, and some things like that, and make all that HPV go away. So unvaccinating is really hard. You can make kids better, and even though they may look really normal, do you really know, does anybody ever really know what their real potential would have been before we loaded them up with all that stuff?
Oh, you.
I bow to you and what you do. At the same time, I solve problems all the time. And I want to teach all of you, what would the Chinese do if you were exposed to toxins? This is a 5,000-year-old Chinese system. You can go there, you can see what they've been doing for thousands of years to anybody who has toxicity. It's a simple exercise. You'll find it in China, you'll find it in India, you'll find it in Aborigines in Australia, you'll find it in South America with the Incan and Mayan Indians. Who would like to do that exercise with me for 2 minutes? So, please stand up. Stand up. You're going to be doing what people have done for thousands of years. And in China, if your toxicity goes up, you do it for an hour. We're not in shape to do it. You start with 5 minutes at the most, and you gradually build up. But what it does, it is the most powerful exercise to stimulate your lymphatic system, which is 4 times bigger than your circulation system. Circulation brings nutrients. Lymphatic system takes out toxins. So what is it? We have thousands of pumps that take out toxins. How do you get those pumps working? If you're sedentary, they stop working. When you walk, they start to pump. But people need more pumping if they're toxic. So the Chinese and other cultures, every ancient indigenous culture figured out one simple thing to accelerate walking is now I just walk 10 minutes. Bounce. Simple little up and down movement here. We're just going to do this. You'll see in Africa, you see the Zulus when I saw them as a kid. You go to China, they're going chop chop, they do a little chop chop with it, up and down. So what you do in the morning, you take your lemon aloe vera drink, clean out the toxins, and you start bouncing up and down. Now be with me here, you're going to experience amazing results. Okay, now we're going to hold this microphone for me. Okay, China is chop chop. New Zealand, they play basketball, they put the ball down like this. South America, they put their hands out to the side. Nelson takes the yogi. American Indians. Little American Indian chant. take a deep breath. Notice all that tingling. What is that? That's oxygenation of the cells. Because you just clean out your cells so your cells can now absorb oxygen and they're producing what's called mitochondria.
John, that's the first time I was there for straight, man. Son of a gun! He bet me $100 before this conference that he could make everybody stand up and sing and dance. China, and she's going to teach us.
Okay, actually, some of them already learned the Qigong, right? So raising your hand when they said, yeah. So this morning as a teacher, he said 100% correctly. Because the Qigong is using mind. So that's why when you have mind, just like everybody say that when you have a joy, when you have a strong mind, you never get sick. Don't worry, don't panic. I'm teaching you the Qigong. You take 1 minute. I confirm he's doing perfectly, but not 100% correctly. So if you want, I will teach you 100%, okay? So now I want to stand at the table, and then you can see. Before I do it, I can just shake, the way you do it, because you increase the lung, the immune system, the whole body have a better circulation. We call dancing of the cell. So your cell can dancing, your cells happy, you never have cancer, right? And besides that, I will teaching people how to laugh. Laugh for longevity, laugh for get rid of all the anxiety and everything. So at the same time, we go Qigong, laughing. Okay? Now, I'm showing to you, you will learn it, and everybody will be healthy because if you share the God's love seed to everybody, then even the radiation from Japan, don't panic. As soon as you love, you let go, let God take care of everything. And pray hard. I am only 23, triple. I'm 69. Job and share the love to everybody, okay? So now, using your mind, go ahead together, say, less than 100%.
These are times we go to commercial breaks. Thank you. Hello. Testing.
Hello, my name is Larry, and I have a question for the panel, as well as a suggestion to the panel, as well as everyone in the room. My question to the panel is, are any of you familiar with two individuals, renowned
renowned biochemist, 7-time Nobel Peace Prize nominee Johanna Ludwig from Germany, who passed away a few years ago, who wrote a book, which I recommend everyone, if they have not read it, titled Flax Oil as a True Aid Against Heart Infarction, Cancer, and Other Diseases. The other individual is someone that you might not be familiar with, but I am sure will be known to this world very soon. His name is Michael Holick from Boston University Medical Center. Last name spelling H-O-L-I-C-K. He wrote a book titled Vitamin D Solution. And the reason I mention these two individuals is simply because if and when you read this book by Johanna Ludwig, and you get to the chapter that deals with photosynthesis, and just read the chapter. The bottom line is the feeling of well-being, the utilization, the raising of the body frequency, which the Egyptians known about forever, the hormonal balance that is tied in with this combination is not, I don't think, is fully understood as of yet. But I think when Michael Holick finally gets his day and really brings vitamin D deficiency to the forefront, combined with omega-3, the use of omega-3, I believe the feeling of well-being, feeling of, or the hormonal balance will be finally understood, and many diseases will be prevented. At the very least, a sense of well-being will be achieved.
And Gary, you're going to get us information on you.
I will.
Okay. Good.
Did you have a question? That was my question. Who is familiar with these two individuals?
Okay. No, but they will. They will. Yes, dear. Go ahead.
This is to Christopher. It's about stem cell research. Back in 2000, there was a 3-year-old boy who had bacterial meningitis. He had a stroke to the brain stem at the C2 level. It paralyzed him from the neck on down, and he was like Christopher Reed. And at that time, the universities were saying that they were studying stem cells. I'm not sure if I understood you correctly. Was there a cure? Could his brain stem have been cured back then?
165 quadriplegic and paraplegic patients are walking or learning to walk following a one-time olfactory stem cell transplant from the nasal passages injected into the spinal column at the place of rupture. George has had a young lady on the show who was 16 years old. She and her brother were driving home on the Texas freeway after school. They hit an oil slick. She hit a brick wall going 65 miles an hour. When the paramedics arrived, she had one question. She said, "Why is my head resting on my shoulder?" She had a burst cervical. They told her that she could never walk again and not even to entertain the idea. Her father, Abel, decided he had heard about Dr. Lima in Portugal, Lisbon, Portugal. He took his daughter there. She was one of the 165 who had her olfactory bulb stem cells put in her spine, and she is walking with her walker, but she may now have been able to get rid of that. That was about 1.5 years, George, ago. So I want to tell you that there is 165 patients. And when I asked Dr. Lima, I said, why isn't the media talking about this? They said that someday they could get a cure for paralysis. He said, there's no money, Christian. It costs $33,000 for me to do the surgery, and that's it. They have rehab after that. But there's no money to be made in adult stem cells because you just simply put the cells in. They do what they're made to do. They're the repair cells. They go through the system, seek out the point of injury and heal it. But the boy is how old now?
Well, the boy died in 2007.
Oh.
And because, you know what happens, because he's on a breathing tube.
Well, that's what happens to Christopher Reeve. I had asked Dr. Lehman. I said, could this have helped Christopher? He said, there was no question that the stem cells would have healed his spine. He said, but the point is, he had been on the respirator so long that his diaphragm had atrophied, and he probably couldn't get that help.
Let me ask you something. I don't know if this is something to be concerned about. What I thought was really odd is, this happened in the year 2000. Well, there was a doctor from the CDC. They were having some type of seminar in San Francisco. He flew all the way down to Orange County to see this boy. All he did was walk in, take a look at him, and then check him out and left. It always bothered me that he didn't talk to the family. I thought, I don't know if I should make anything out of it. It's just very odd.
Well, things happen, don't they?
Now this was, you said the cure went back that far?
In 2007, yes, he's been doing it longer than that.
Oh,
I asked him one question. I said, and incidentally, I'm helping raise money for the veterans right now, because that's the one thing. And Dr. Lena told me, matter of fact, I'm finishing a recording that I'll dedicate and donate to it's all about a soldier that, it was a Grammy-nominated record, as a matter of fact. I did it with Bill Cosby when I produced it. But I'm doing another version of it and using the money to help raise some money for these. The government has agreed to pay for the rehab. They've gone to see Dr. Lehman, Dr. Merritt for the Veterans Administration, and they've agreed to pay for the rehab, but they will not pay for the surgery. And the surgery is about $35,000, so that's what I want to work on. But as far as, I asked him, well, what is the longest distance from the patient's injury that you've been able to heal? He said, about 15 years. So I want to share that with you. If you have a friend who's a paraplegic, and if you come by the booth 517, you'll see pictures of the actual procedure. You know, can I have a moment or two? While so much of conversation has been about cancer, which it should be, I just finished the lead story for the new newsletter, and here's what it is. A man by the name of John Kansas was a radio technician, radio frequency. He had 36 treatments of chemotherapy. And one night, lying in bed, he believed that he could kill cancer cells if he could heat them up to 108 degrees. So he went down into his garage, and shortly, I don't know how long afterward, he built a machine. He built a prototype that cost him $200,000 of his own money. He took the prototype to MD Anderson, to Stephen Curley, a cancer specialist. Curley said, this is the most fantastic thing he has ever seen. He said, now, what you're doing is you need metal particles to be put into the tumor. And then, when you heat the RF waves to 108 degrees, they should completely ameliorate and eradicate all of the cancer. Now, this is MD Anderson Cancer Clinic. They next approached Smalley, who won the Nobel Peace Prize for nanotechnology, space age technology. They convinced him to lend him some of these micro particles that they could put into the tumors, because they were going to test rabbits. 100% of the rabbits, they eradicated all cancer. And MD Anderson says it doesn't matter what kind of cancer it is. This works to destroy the cancer cell. It was on 60 Minutes about 4 years ago. And then I never heard any more about it. And here was John Kansas fighting to save his own life. And he passed away before he had the chance to use this to save his life. But millions of other people may benefit from it. And now they're moving ahead. The University of Texas is doing a study right now using microparticles that you heat to 108 degrees in the tumor and eradicate the tumor.
Thank you, Chris.
My name is Robert. I have a question for George Noory. This is a panel on topics that the traditional media doesn't touch upon. And several of us are here from an organization called Californians for Green Dentistry and Consumers for Dental Choice. And my question is, we also have someone who's been working on this issue for about 15 years is going to be here speaking tomorrow, Charlie Brown. And I know several dependents have touched on this issue. Would you consider having a 1 hour or more discussion on the issue of dental amalgam mercury toxicity?
Absolutely.
On your show?
Absolutely. You know, we've touched on it with some of our discussions with some of the medical practitioners who've been on. We've not devoted a full hour to it. You know, I remember as a kid, you know, when they gave me fillings, it was always mercury fillings. I had them all taken out as I got older. Sure, absolutely. Just get the information to Tommy.
My name is Sayward, and this question is for Daryl. Did you mention a certain group or a movement that is occurring for resisting, you know, trying to overturn the rule, the law that was made for corporations being able to give unlimited money to politicians?
Yeah, and the Citizens United versus the FEC is the ruling that it was. We could probably talk about this more extensively, but basically it gave corporations the right of a personhood. And the reason that we don't hear about all these wonderful cures and everything is because, you know, Fox News works for a billionaire. Everybody, all of these corporations own the media outlets that are inhibiting this information, and of course owning the politicians and putting them in office, especially since this ruling in 2010. After 2010, the investment in campaign financing went up outrageously exponentially. I mean, it did have an immediate effect on the amount of money that people put into campaigns.
And I understand now that international money is coming over under cover of another corporation or whatever
Exactly.
here, and they're bringing in money from all over the world. But my question was, is there a group that we can support and get behind?
Yes, so if you go, well, I mean, one way to get an easy link to the organizations that are fighting this law, which actually used the First Amendment in a really corrupt way to give the freedom of speech rights to corporations. That's how they got this sort of right of personhood. Is to go to Annie Leonard's website, which is Citizens United versus FEC. The little video she made, there's a direct link to the organizations who are fighting it.
Thank you.
Tom, we're getting close to the end here, and I wanted to give every panelist a very quick 30-second opportunity to say something. So let's take you as our last.
Okay, I'll make it brief. First is a comment on the first question. I would refer everybody to Clifford Consite. He's a former DOD employee, high classified clearance. He has extensive information on it. Chemtrails has multifaceted applications, HARP, DARPA, etc. The Con Institute, he's been doing it for over 11 years. He has multi-scientific evidence on every issue from Morgellons to HARP, etc. The other thing is about it, the chemtrails, even if you don't worry about them, even if you're mentally sane, which I can't believe anyone is anymore, but if you're perfectly mentally balanced, you cycle spiritually, cool, you're still not going to have organic food anymore because of chemtrails. You're still not going to have normal weather because of it and its applications with HARP, DARPA, etc., and all the black ops that go on continuously. Now, I also had a question for Ms. Sherry Tenpenny about my son. He has Down syndrome, he has speech delays, he has hearing loss, and most importantly, he has chronic congestion. His pulmonologist and his ENT doctor, the only thing they want to do is surgically remove his adenoids and his tonsils and perpetually keep him on Zopinex, Pulmicort, and either CPAP or BiPAP, what would be your recommendations to clear him up and not have to put him on any of the allopathic recommendations that these physicians are recommending?
Is he vaccinated?
No.
Not at all? Good for you for upholding underneath that pressure, because I'm sure it's been enormous, really. There's a lot of things that you can do to clear up mucus. I mean, the first thing I would do is address his gut. You know, the most important immune system function that you have is the good integrity of the intestinal tract. Make sure he doesn't have any parasites. Make sure he's got plenty of good bacteria, the probiotics of all, and Saccharomyces boulardii, which is the good yeast. I would start with that. The other thing that you can do is if you can find a really good cranial osteopath, an osteopathic physician that does good cranial manipulation. How old is he? Six. You can do a lot to remove that congestion, to do to release the pressures in his face and his head. The small ear canals, you can open that up a lot. But the good health is really, it starts in the gut. I would be sure beyond all else that you get his vitamin D level tested and that it's up around 80. Make sure that you can do a test by a company called SpectraCell to see what specific nutrients that are missing that you could plug in the missing gaps. Structural medicine is really important in Down's kids, no matter how old they are. In structural medicine, to loosen up all those secretions, to do lymphatic pump, to do good chest compressions and rib raising is really important. You know, the other thing is to make sure, I mean, we do a big program in our office in Cleveland called SRT. It's an allergy elimination program. Make sure you address all of his allergies. Make sure you get rid of his candida, clean up any sort of yeast because of all those medications he's on. All those medications can deplete nutrients from his system, particularly B vitamins. So I would really work on the health side of the equation because conventional medicine is certainly working on the disease. How can you address the congestion? Water, hydration, essential fatty acids. There's herbs, there's lots of herbal things. Homeopathics. You can work with a really good homeopath, someone who's really trained in homeopathy to help with relieving all of those underlying problems of why does he get the congestion instead of just treating the congestion when it shows up. Okay. Thank you.
All right, what our plan is, let's take 30 seconds, quick wrap up. Little statement, Jonathan, we'll start with you.
I'm an optimist. The history of mankind has been ever forward in the direction of greater liberty. Barriers to freedom have been broken down around the world and continue to be broken down. We're in a rut. We have a situation in this country where government has become too large, where it's presuming to act as your parent to deny you freedom of choice. But we also have a wealth of information, and we have a wealth of health information that is transforming each individual into a power capable of healing himself or herself. For the first time in our history, in the history of the world, we have the power within ourselves to perform those things necessary to maintain our longevity and to maintain our health and to increase our longevity. But in order to protect that right and in order to expand it, we have to transform this government. We have to move it back in the direction of liberty. And so I commit you to that task, if you will, by using the ballot box to transform this country back into one that is under a constitutional will. Thank you.
I guess I'd just like to add to that as well by encouraging everybody to, to not only just take the opportunity to voice yourself at the ballot box, but show up. I mean, you've seen the amazing inspirational actions of the people in Wisconsin, of what's happened in Egypt, or what's going on right now downtown in our city, where where all Los Angelinos are out in the streets supporting workers. And also fighting for a right to know on GMOs. Today there's been demonstrations all over the country about our right to know. So it's crucial that we get out there and let our voices be heard and show that there's a tipping point, that we want a vibrant, compassionate, humane, and just future.
There is no such thing as an incurable disease. There are only incurable people, people that are not willing to do whatever it takes to get healthy again. It's all about energy. Everything in life is frequency and vibration. You will never see anybody that's highly motivated and positive and energized getting the flu or cold. You have to be worn out, down, depressed to get these kind of problems. So get your energy level up, have a lot of fun, have a party once in a while, have a lot of sex, and once in a while a bourbon.
representative government and to get us back on track with our Constitution. But we need to get our states back on track too. And vaccination is a state issue, not a federal one. We have now created the most powerful tool out there to make sure that you and all your states retain your right to say no. If you go to the nvicadvocacy.org, NVIC, the National Vaccine Information Center, nvicadvocacy.org, you can sign up for every single state. We need 100,000, we need everybody here to get involved. You won't get any spam, you won't get any emails, you're only going to get alerts about the laws and the regulations that are going on with vaccines in your state. We just lost a big one in Washington State. We just lost. We've been working our buns off for the last several weeks about this. We lost like 22 to 59. But now parents in the state of Washington who have always had the philosophical right to refuse, in order to refuse vaccinations to get their kids into school, they have to go to a doctor and get a signed document. And the doctor has the right to refuse it. That is going to be the bellwether across this entire country unless every one of you and all your friends, family members, all your Facebook friends, everybody get involved. So nvicadvocacy.org, get involved. Let's make vaccination the right to refuse in every state. Let's get those laws changed.
I just want to share with you that there is some good news ahead. We will have stem cells to repair our bodies in the next 10 years and the next 5 years. This is moving ahead so rapidly. As Robert Lanza, the unquestionable leader in stem cell research, has said, if you need a lung, if you need a kidney, if you need a liver, we will be able to grow it for you. If you need a heart valve, we will grow it from your own tissue. And when he talked about longevity, he said it's not that far away, a matter more of years than decades. We will live to be 150. I thank you all very much. I thank George Noory above all for giving me this.
I want to make sure that if you live to 150 years old that you're happy that whole time. That your kids are happy, and that our children can grow up in intact families with grandparents and great-grandparents. Because I have great-great-great-grandchildren by living to 150. And the sad truth is that there's a massive epidemic of medications being given to our children and to adults to turn out to 1 out of 3 Americans is taking some kind of psychoactive drug, whether it be an antidepressant, a sleeping pill, an ADD or ADHD medication. This is shocking. This is a symptom of the spiritual deprivation of our country. The extreme materialism, the giving up personal fulfillment for expecting someone to do it for us, the collecting of things. I want to recommend everybody go see the movie I Am, a wonderful movie today about giving up that, recognizing what is really the source of fulfillment in our lives is the quality of personal relationships. And whether we want to have lasting marriage and communication with our children is the quality of our relationships. And today we're living in a new world where stress levels are higher than ever before. Women's stress levels are twice as high as men's in the workplace. And when women come home from work, their stress levels double again. So men, when your wife is unhappy, be empathetic. Don't try to solve it. Don't tell her to change your life. Don't tell her to quit that job. Nod your head and say, tell me more. And when every cell in your body wants to tell her, don't worry about it, give her a hug and say, you give give so much to so many people. I love you, and give her a hug. Understand there are real differences between men and women that cause different health issues, and that women rely on a hormone called oxytocin. That's why I wrote this book about. I'll be citing them later. Oxytocin, how to create more oxytocin in women. It's proven. Oxytocin is the hormone your body can make with the right stimulation that will lower your cortisol levels, improve your immune system, protecting you from cancer, improve your digestion, allowing you to make the brain chemicals, so you don't feel depressed and you sleep wonderfully at night. So lowering your stress and helping women lower their stress levels will help men lower their stress levels. But if she's not happy, no men are happy. So let's try to figure out how to solve this relationship issue as well and get the right nutrition to fund or to fuel healthy brain function, good moods, and lots of energy, and lots of sex.